Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to season 2 of the Celtic FC Appreciation Show podcast. Joining us tonight, I'm delighted to say, is former Celtic and Scotland goalkeeper Robert Douglas. We are still sponsored by Club Badge FC. They're official licensed suppliers of the Scotland national team. So thanks to their support, we're hopefully getting another couple of sponsors in the next couple of weeks. But go on and give them a check out. As I say, we're live with Robert Douglas. It is baptism of fire for Ange Postecoglou tonight at Tynecastle. About an hour and a half or something to kick off. So, Rab, I know we've not got you for long, so we'll get straight into it. Obviously, Eddie Howe was the name that was linked with the Celtic job. That deal collapsed at the end of May. Ange Postecoglou was a name that seemed to be plucked out the air. What were you thinking when the Eddie Howe deal collapsed?
I was a bit disappointed. I thought he'd have been a great appointment for Celtic. It was almost as if they'd everything lined up and then it fell through. And then Ange Postecoglou comes through and it'll be interesting to see. You've got to give him the benefit of the doubt, get his methods, get his own squad in, get his own players in. And certainly he's got a few in, but I think he's still needing a few more yet. So you've got to give him the benefit of doubt and time. Obviously, going out of Europe's incredibly disappointing. I didn't see it. We were training the other night, but it's a hammer blow for Celtic fans first and foremost. They've been pretty used to the Champions League and a good campaign over the years. I was lucky enough to play in it myself, but again, I just think it's disappointing that the fact that the Eddie Howe one fell through, because I think he would have been great for Celtic. And again, it would have been good for the profile. He's a well-respected manager. Nothing against Ange. I don't know the man, but hopefully he can come in and get Celtic hitting the ground running tonight.
Yeah, myself and Paul, we were doing the show towards the end of last season, and it was Eddie Howe talk every single week. We were like broken records, and then, as I say, over the season closure that Postecoglou came in. It wasn't a name that I was well adverse to, but we had an Australian journalist on, Scott McIntyre. He gave a real in-depth look into the man that he's followed for most of his career, and it was a really great chat. It was a really great insight into what we can expect. Obviously, it's a transitional period, and in terms of when you look at the transfers that's came in, Liam Shaw was a deal that was done before Ange came in. That was, I don't know who sanctioned that deal, but then he's came in and he's brought in Asazi Urigide, Leila Bada, Karol Starfelt and Kyogo Furuhashi. Try to get used to saying these names. But obviously they've cost the money that basically we got for big Christopher Raya. In terms of then where do you see is needing to strengthen in terms of position wise?
Well, I think you're looking, it's probably a bit of a blow that Christopher Julian's out a wee while longer. I still think you probably, for the course of the campaign and your European campaign, you're probably needing another centre-back. I would say, I think they'll be looking at a goalie. I mean, that's the goalkeeping situation's changed already. You'll be looking for a goalie. It depends what happens with Edward. I mean, it's wide and varied. But again, to be fair, probably every manager that's worth his salt will have 2 or 3 targets in each position. And okay, Celtic had Eddie Howe lined up, but I'm quite sure they would have had other, obviously other choices as well. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think in terms of, I think we actually really need a lot of positions filled. In terms of, I think we need another goalkeeper, as you say. I know Joe Hart's been mentioned, and I don't know how close that deal is. Supposedly, he's willing to take a wage cut, which would be a massive signing in terms of names. But I also think we need a whole new defence, just mostly for cover. We could be doing another left winger and maybe a couple of strikers. I think, obviously, Mitchell Black says, will the Japanese striker be involved? I don't think he will be in the squad tonight. I think he will be available for the Dundee game next week at Celtic Park. But I know he's ready to play. It's just maybe came too soon for him. Going on to the goalkeeper situation, Rab, obviously you'll know more than others. Obviously you disposed Jonathan Gould when you came in at Celtic in 2000. But in terms of rivalries with goalkeepers, I'm thinking Bain and Barkas, how kind of friendly they are, how much they're rivals. Would you say that there is a kind of rivalry when you go into a new club like Celtic?
I think the goalkeeping situation is the one thing where it's the only position. You can push a right back into right midfield or vice versa, a right midfielder onto wide right. The last thing when I was there, Stuart Kerr was there. Obviously, Gould and I were good friends. Magnus came in. Dimitri was there with a couple of our trialists in. Javi was in for a period. I think you want your fellow goalies to do well. I've always said an outfield player, Didi could let it under his foot and he goes out for a throw in. Me, Gouldy, Magnus, you make a mistake, it's a goal. Simple as that. That's the position. And sometimes it just is. You look, probably Magnus is a good example. Magnus never really hit the ground running or settled in fully at Celtic, and maybe it's the same for Barkas. You just don't know. Coming to a different continent, maybe style of football. It's all these things could be accumulating, family not settling. We just don't know. It's just. And now Scott Bain's been back involved, so it'll be interesting to see who starts tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. Obviously, I was a big fan of Fraser Forster, and I would have loved him to have signed on a permanent, but it wasn't to be, and he went back to Southampton. But in terms of Barkas and Bain's situation, I really don't know, because I thought towards the start of this season, I thought, right, stick Barkas back in goals. I know he's made mistakes, and I know he's not hit the ground running, but at the same time, he needs a wee bit of confidence. You'll know as well. You need a settled defence in front of you. You always played with a settled defence. You had Big Bobo, Johan, and Juice in front of you, and that was settled, and you knew what each other was thinking. Obviously, Celtic in the last season or two have had a shaky defence where defenders have been out injured, they've been back in, they've been suspended and things like that. So it's not been easy for the goalkeepers either. And I thought that Barkas was going to come in and be the number one, but then you could say he makes a couple of mistakes pre-season, and then in the big game against Midtjylland, Scott Bain comes in. So it poses the question, who starts tonight. I mean, I would still go with Barkas, but I don't know what your thoughts are and who would start tonight at Tynecastle.
Well, I think it'll give you an indication of what the manager's thinking of the both of them. I'm willing Barkas to go out and prove us all wrong. I just wanted him to hit the ground running, start this season, and prove everybody. He came with a high pedigree. As I say, sometimes people come into clubs and it just doesn't happen for you. That's the sad part of football. You don't settle, as I say, maybe not enjoying it, maybe not enjoying the lifestyle or the area. All these combination things, family might not be there, family might not be well. All these things, and I would love both the goalies to prove us all wrong. I think Joe Hart would be a great signing. Fraser Forster was sensational, to be honest. I think he was sensational when he's come back in every period, and disappointed it never get him permanently.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Ben Foster, another England goalkeeper, was mentioned in that kind of same breath. I think Joe Hart, even at 34, would be a better selection, a better choice, definitely than Barkas and Bain at the moment. I don't think either keeper is feeling too confident, and you can't go in, especially go to places like Tynecastle. I mean, you'll obviously know yourself, playing there enough times throughout your career. It's a volatile, it's a hostile stadium to play in, a bit like Pittodrie, where the fans are on top of you. And I know we're not going to have a full house tonight, but we don't really need that kind of pressure on the keepers tonight.
I think, Tynecastle, it's one of these ones. As a player, I think you enjoy the fans being in top. It is hostile, but it's a great place to go and play, especially when you win. I think when the manager makes a decision tonight regarding the goalie, that's him nailed his colours to the mast, what way he's going, whether it's Barkas or Bain. And I'm quite sure he's probably asking the board if he can maybe get money or get one in and loan. And again, it'll be interesting. As I say, I've been there, I've made mistakes, it's horrible, but again, you've got to have try and get that mental toughness to come back and try and prove to people that you can do it again. The beauty with Celtic is you normally play Saturday, Tuesday, or Saturday, Wednesday, or Thursday. It's just the way it is with the European games now, and if you do make a mistake, you're into the next game. So it'll be interesting tonight anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Just a few comments that are coming in. Chetty Riley says, Rabbi, wasn't your biggest fan, but my God, you were 1,000 times better than the current keepers. don't know if that's a compliment or not, but take it whatever you want. Mitchell Black says Ryan Christie has been impressive so far. Yeah, as I say, like I think in terms of Ryan Christie seems to have picked himself up again. You know, he came in for a lot of stick, and I defended him a lot last season in terms of. I just thought his confidence was shattered last season. I think he's been a great player for Celtic, and I do think he can pick it up. But do you think, Rab, it's a case of he's playing for a move, or do you think maybe he's playing to stay, to sign a new contract?
I don't understand MD playing for a move. Surely you just go out and give your best, and sometimes your best isn't enough. Just go and enjoy your football. I'm up at Arbroath coaching. We're part-time, and they boys play for the love of football. It's no all for the money. Okay, we're professional and we're in the championship, and we try to improve the club, but I don't think any other players would be playing for a move. I think they would just be playing to do their best for the club. One that I'm looking forward to seeing this season is Turnbull. It'll be interesting to see how he does. I think he could be a very good player for Celtic.
Yeah, I think David Turnbull. I think I saw last season that he had a better pass completion rate than Lionel Messi and Bruno Fernandes. So that is some company to keep, to be honest, especially for a young Scottish boy. I thought when he came in that, you know, he might not be ready for the first team right away, that he might need to be loaned out, a bit like the Ryan Christie situation when he went to Aberdeen and came back. But listen, he has hit the ground running last season, and I definitely think he's going to be one to watch this year. In terms of, obviously, new signings coming in, Leo Labada, have you seen much of him in terms of...
No.
Nah.
I'd be lying if I said I had. I don't think I've seen any of the signings, to be fair, and I'm looking forward to watching the game tonight to see what formation they play, how they play. You know, it'll be interesting. But as I say, the biggest one for me is as soon as the manager picks his team, who's in goals, and then we go from there, and it gives you a better indication of what he's wanting to do in the goalkeeping situation.
Yeah, obviously Jackie Dunn says I'd take Rab back in goals tonight. I don't know if you're available, big man, but
I'm saying we're both, Jackie. Sorry.
I would have definitely stuck your hat in there. You could have had a shot and goal tonight. Obviously, the thoughts on Carl Starfelt. I don't know much about him. I know Rab won't either. Not seen the guy. He looks decent. He looks as if he's going to be a leader in that defence, and that's exactly what we need. We need to get Big Julian back. But in terms of, going to touch on Callum McGregor, obviously he's taken over from Bruni as captain. I'm a massive Callum McGregor fan, but I wasn't entirely sure that he was a right option. I think I described him last year as being a popular option because he's been there, you know, most of his life and all the rest of it. And I would have rather seen his dangle the bait at Ayer and tried to get Christopher Ayer to stay and gave him the captaincy. But listen, I think Cal Mac, from what I've seen so far, has really stepped up a gear.
I think you look, he's been over the course so many seasons with Celtic. He knows what it's all about. I think Ayer was wanting to go. I think, was there any point in even trying? You've got Julian to come back in as well, you know. So I think when you look at that, Cal McGregor's probably a sensible choice in all honesty as well.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of, like, obviously you're talking about formations there. I'm not a big fan of this 4-5-1. I like 4-4-2, straight down the line, and just get two up front and let's score as many goals. Because listen, I've always said that Celtic can't defend. We can't defend to save ourselves. So let's score as many goals as the opponents, and let's see where it gets us. But in terms of, I was just going to say, if anybody's got any questions for Rab about his career at Celtic, fire them in. Any questions or comments you have about the team or tonight's game, get them into us as well. And question of the day, obviously, just fire them in. Who would you play in goals tonight, Bain or Barkas? So in terms of touching on your career, Rab obviously signed for $1.5 million at Celtic in 2000 at a bargain, nowadays kind of thing. Did it all seem like a dream, the way you came in your first season? You won. I don't know if you were cup. I've read somewhere that you were cup tied for the League Cup.
Yeah, I was.
Because I was going to say, I was just about to say you'd won the treble in your first season. Technically, I'm sure you would have still got a medal for being there. But in terms of, that must have been a dream coming for Dundee and winning the league and the Scottish Cup right away.
I think when you look, I was a late starter, as I say. I didn't even go part-time till 21. I was 25 when I went full-time at Dundee. Really enjoyed my time at Dundee and was grateful for him taking the gamble on us. And then obviously Martin O'Neill came in, and it was great. It was great to see. It was great to go and meet Martin O'Neill and Robbo and Wally. And I wasn't guaranteed anything. He said it's between you and Gould. If you get the gloves, it's down to you. And love Johnny Gould. Keep in touch with him. Keep in touch with a few of the old boys at Celtic. And it's great. But I think when you look, I was a Motherwell fan growing up, so I used to go to Motherwell, watch Motherwell home and away. And then when you go into Celtic, it's a completely different environment, even going from Dundee, you know. But you got to settle in as well. And okay, I ups and downs, but it's I think the highs far outweigh the lows, you know. So great time. But again, that's the nature of being a goalie, and you've got to have that mental strength. And I've just got a feeling he's going to go with Bain tonight.
Yeah. I think, as I say, when you look at it as well coming in, everybody raves about Martin O'Neill with his style of management and the man that he is himself. I've not had the pleasure to meet him yet, but I mean, what was it like as a manager to deal with?
Listen, it was straightforward. I can't see Martin O'Neill really telling. I think once he'd go to Henrik, you're basically looking at Martin O'Neill just putting the players into their slots and letting us go and play. And that was the one thing he did. Great man manager, looked after the players well, did everything, you know, fought your corner, whatever, for any reason. But man management, he was brilliant. I think mannerisms, obviously, he learned a lot of Brian Clough. But again, when you look where he came in and transformed Celtic, it was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you then defended your title the following season, won the SPL, 52 appearances, I think. I read as well. It's an incredible amount of appearances that really cemented your place as number one. But the game against Valencia in Europe, you know, that really stood out that season. I mean, how was it playing in the Messiah and
It's funny because some of the games are a blur. The Messiah is a blur to me compared to going down to Blackburn and turning Blackburn over because we're men against boys. But we won at Blackburn and we get beaten in the Messiah, and we were so unlucky. Losing penalties when we went back to Celtic Park because I think we had enough chances that night. But listen, again, that's the nature, you know.
Mitchell Black's just hit it with Rab. Do you remember Sam Assey's overhead kick against you? I don't know if I remember.
He's obviously scored. Listen, everybody scored by me. Don't worry about it.
I don't know if I remember that one. I do remember that, fun enough, a penalty save you made against, I'm sure it was Motherwell at Fir Park. And I don't know how you get your hand up that high. It just, you know, it was an unbelievable save. That save's always stuck in my memory. That for some reason, I don't know why. I just couldn't believe that you'd got to it, kind of, because I think you went quite low.
I went down,
but the hand came up really high.
I actually even got a cuddle for Sutty that day. That's how most feeling. So there you go. No, obviously, as I say, being a Motherwell fan, but again, you still want to get and do your best. You know, obviously, you're playing for Celtic and you're playing for a title and trophies. And I think I went low. I think it was Derek Adam, but I had a reasonable record with penalties. But obviously, I don't think the pressure's on the goalkeeper at penalties. The pressure's on the taker. You know, so if you can do something right, or you know, you've maybe did your homework in the penalties or whatever, or you've been told by the goalie coach, you've got a chance.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of the UEFA Cup run, because that was obviously memorable. It was an unbelievable season and all, and I can remember being in the pub watching the last game against Kilmarnock in that season, and obviously it came down to a goal, I think, in the end. I can remember applauding the players off at the end of the park, thinking that I've never been prouder of the team this season, the whole season. Just that, you know, you guys battled through absolutely everything in terms of, you know, lost finals and got to the UEFA Cup final. I was in Seville, 16 years old, was an unbelievable atmosphere. And, you know, but just in terms of the cup run, is there a game that sticks out in your mind?
I think obviously Blackburn was a great one. I was a Liverpool fan growing up. Dalglish, King Kenny, Mr. Dalglish was my hero. So going down there and getting a clean sheet, and I'll never forget when Big Johnny scored a couple of decent saves for Gerrard, etc. But again, it was a team game. I'll never forget Johnny scored and I turned round. There's one guy in one guy I've made eye contact with, so I'm looking at a Celtic fan going mental in the Kop, and just that memory sticks in the back of my mind. But going there and getting a clean sheet, and I thought, not bad for a wee boy for Lanark, but brilliant. I think we were 20 odd games extra on top of your league campaign, plus your other cups that you were in. So, whether it took its toll or not, I mean, it's one goal, and we didn't end up with anything that year, which was unbelievable.
I remember all the games. We had superstitions. We were watching the games in the pubs, and we always had the same seat and the same table and things like that. It was just ridiculous the way you do it. But I can always remember the obviously Blackburn and the Liverpool games are standouts because it's Battle of Britain, and especially with Blackburn being Graham Souness and things like that. But I can remember like the battles of in Stuttgart in Germany. And Celta Vigo as well, like going through and away goals and all the drama of that. Henrik Larsson obviously scored a handful in that run, and I can still remember recording the game. I've still got it in videotape. I've never watched it back. I've only seen it live. I've never watched it back. I've seen the goals, but in terms of how was it in the build-up when you got to Seville as a team?
I think, listen, for a team who probably get put out with Ball in the qualifiers and we ended up in the Europa or UEFA Cup, it was unbelievable to go in that running journey. But I mean, I think one other game that sticks in my mind was Stuttgart. I think we went 2 up early doors over there and we were flying. Then we conceded a couple and we were under pressure. I think we conceded one and Lenny kicked off for the halfway line. So he's 49 yards out. And he's rolled it back to me, right back to the goal line. And I've probably kicked it 48 and a half yards back to him, going mental at him. That's how much pressure we were under at Stuttgart. But I just always think if that Stuttgart game had went another 5 minutes, we could have been in trouble that night. But I mean, again, we get through, So the achievement and the journey for the fans, to be able to get your pals and family tickets who are Celtic fans was unbelievable. Sadly, we were just short in the night, and Porter's theatrics, etc., just killed. I think that can put you off as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was heartbroken that kind of moment, obviously for all you boys, but especially that moment of Larsson walking past the trophy, he was getting interviewed, and he basically said to Chick Young, he looked at his medal, he's like, I didn't come for that. Do you know what I mean? He didn't want to look at it, and I think that broke everybody's heart. So we were all delighted as Celtic fans, obviously, and football fans, that he went on and won the European Cup with Barcelona kind of thing, and played a part in 2 goals.
I think you look when he came on as sub, didn't he? And he's played his part in 2 goals, and then he's went to Man U. Celtic. Henrik was brilliant for Celtic. Celtic was brilliant for Henrik. But I mean, I think you look when he does it at Barcelona and Man U as well. You've got to doff your cap and realise the quality of the guy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we obviously got the best out of him, kind of thing. I just want to just interrupt and just go on to I think we've got the Celtic team. So the Celtic team for tonight, Scott Bain does make it in goals. You've got Taylor, Beaton, Starfelt makes his debut, Ralston, Sorrow, McGregor as captain, Abada, Turnbull, Forrest and Edward. That's a pretty good team, in my opinion. On the bench, you've got Barkas, Kyogo, Furuhashi does make the bench, Albion Ayeti, Ryan Christie, Tom Rogic, Adam Montgomery and Stephen Welsh is on the bench. That's a pretty good team. But just going back to European days, your Celtic days, you obviously went and won another title before you left. In terms of, I know you went to, was it Leicester you went to in 2005? How tough a decision was that to leave Celtic at the time?
I think the manager changed. Obviously, the gaffer was leaving because his wife was ill, etc. And Gordon Strachan came in and he brought in Boric, who was unbelievable. So sometimes you don't get a contract renewal, and that's what happens. I had 4.5 great years. I've met people that I still keep in touch with, not just fans. I've got friends, I've got staff members that are still at Celtic to this day that I keep in touch with. So in that way, it's an unbelievable experience. But sometimes your time comes. Your time's up at a club and you've got to go elsewhere. You're never guaranteed anything in life, that's for sure.
Yeah, and just finally, before we get back onto Celtic, just making your Scotland debut, the amount of caps that you made, how proud were you that you got to represent your country?
quite patriotic. I was actually down at Wembley there, so I didn't have tickets, but I was down.
I saw the video.
But I think that ball's still going through. No, you look. I'm proud to be Scottish, and I think as a kid you want to either play professional football or play for your country. And I was lucky enough to do both, so incredibly proud of that. Standing at Hampden, and a couple of good results, a couple of poor ones, but that's the nature of being a goalkeeper in Scotland, I suppose.
Yeah, and obviously touching the Euros, it was great to see the guys there after 23 years. Do you think it'll be another 23 years before we get there? Are you confident in the team?
I'm very confident. I think Steve Clarke's a very good manager. I think he's probably even learned in the Euros and the games we get beaten. But again, you look at the guys finished. That's just a difference of quality again, which we're probably just missing up front in Scotland was a cutting edge and a goal. The nucleus of the squad's young for Scotland now, and it's looking brilliant, to be fair. So you've got your Gilmores coming through, you've got your Turnbulls and all that. They all deserve their chance, and I think there's a great nucleus of a squad there for Scotland to build on.
Yeah, definitely, and hopefully, as I say, hopefully we'll be there in Qatar. It'd be typical if we qualified for the hottest country in the world. I think we'll all burn when we go over there. But just going back to Celtic before I let you go, Rab, in terms of this season, obviously, we're aiming to reclaim our crown after being so dominant. It was a tough one to take last season on all fronts kind of thing, but how do you see this season panning out? I know it's a bit Mystic Meg, but...
I think when you look, you've got to let the manager, he's probably still looking to bring at least 3 players in, to be honest, and maybe even more, or 3 players with this window. You might see 1 player or 2 players moving on again, The biggest thing, probably the good marker will be the first Celtic Rangers game. I think that'll give you an indication of how the manager's team's shaping up. And that I saw him doing the training when he was mic'd up, and he looked very good. So interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how he works and his methods and formations and how they play. So I'm looking forward to a game tonight. But you know what it's like. Second place is nowhere.
Yeah, that's it, especially in Scotland, and it's a massive baptism of fire for him. But hopefully he can overcome it tonight. We get the 3 points and go into Dundee next week. Listen, Rob, I'm going to let you go because I know you've got places to go and people to see. But listen, thanks very much for coming on, big man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.
No worries. Hopefully we get you on again soon.
I'll get us on again in our time, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks again. Cheers.
Right, cheers.
Cheers, Pat. Cheers.
So yeah, that was Rab Douglas, former Celtic keeper. Great to have him on. Hopefully we'll get him on for longer next time. But yeah, so that is it for us. A bit of a short show. We've not got Paul on this week, so we're going to kind of cut it short. But just in case anybody missed the Celtic team, the lineup, Scott Bain gets a nod in goals. Greg Taylor, Neil Beaton, Carol Starfelt makes his debut in defence. Anthony Ralston, Ismail Asoro, Callum McGregor as captain, Leo Labada, David Turnbull, James Forrest and Odsonne Edward on the bench, Barkas, Furuhashi, Ayeti, Christie, Rogic, Montgomery and Welsh. Hopefully that will be the team to see us through tonight against Hearts and get stuck into them. As I say, thanks for all your support, guys. Thanks for the numbers watching. Remember and subscribe to the podcast. This is the start of season 2. So we're going to be running all season. And we'll have Paul back next week. So, as I say, thanks to Club Badge FC again, renewing the sponsorship of the pod. They are the official licensed suppliers of the Scotland national side, in case you didn't know who they were. They are across the socials. Really great wee page, great business. Get in touch with them. The great badges that they come up with. And as I say, we will be back next Sunday sometime after the Dundee game at Celtic Park. And so, as I say, all across the socials, Celtic FC appreciation page, all across the socials, get liking us, guys, get sharing the page. We want to get this pod into the charts this season. And we're available to download on Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you download your podcast from. So until next Sunday, guys, all the best. Hail, hail.